When I was first elected to Congress way back in 1991, I dealt with issues like the Persian Gulf War, and I opposed that war. And on one of the votes on the Persian Gulf War, there were, I think, 6 other members of Congress who voted with me. And I said, my God, this is going to be a very short political career. Okay, 2 years, and that's it.
Last year, many of us worked together to pass a War Powers Resolution on Yemen, in which Congress, for the first time in history, used the powers laid out in the 1973 War Powers Act to constrain the president on matters of war. The vote on that resolution that was passed here in the Senate was 54 to 46, all Democrats and 7 Republicans voting for it. We have brought Republicans and Democrats together in a very historical moment. Both progressives and conservatives have made a profound statement that 45 years after the passage of the War Powers Act, 45 years later, finally, the United States Senate has come together to use that authority for the first time. The president will not have 1 penny to spend on a war in Iran unless there is congressional authorization.
This is just the beginning of what is promises to be, of course, a huge bombing campaign, Tom.
It is my belief that a war in the Persian Gulf now, an absolutely unnecessary war, would be a terrible mistake that this country would regret for decades to come. Is the future of our country to be one in which we are known throughout the world simply as being the strongest military power on earth, the policeman of the world, the muscle man of the world? Is that what our future is all about?
Iraq's weapons of mass destruction are controlled by a murderous tyrant. Confronting the threat posed by Iraq is crucial to winning the war on terror.
I'm opposed to giving the president a blank check to launch a unilateral invasion and occupation of Iraq, and why I will vote against this resolution.
I knew that Cheney and Bush were lying about weapons of mass destruction.
I have no doubt that we are representing the vast majority of the people who are scared to death about the possibility that the United States could set a precedent of a unilateral invasion of a country which could trigger disastrous results.
I have not heard any estimates of how many young American men and women might die in such a war, or how many tens of thousands of women and children in Iraq might also be killed. As a caring nation, we should do everything we can to prevent the horrible suffering that a war will cause.
A plane from the US-backed Saudi-led coalition struck a bus. Dozens died.
The fact is that the United States, with relatively little media attention, has been Saudi Arabia's partner in this horrific war. When Yemenis see made in USA on the bombs that are killing them, it tells them that it is the United States of America that is actively involved in this war.
It's the idea that we're looking at a president of the United States who, number one, thinks that a war with Iran is something that might be good for this country. I just didn't know that it's okay to simply attack another country with bombs just to limit it. That's an act of warfare.
Throughout our history, we have overthrown many, many governments. A lot of what politics is about is the domination of colonies so that big companies in a given country can take the resources.
The cost of war is very expensive. It is expensive in terms of human life, in terms of human suffering, and in terms of financial commitment.
If we really want to go to war, then let us stand up and fight against the grotesquely unfair distribution of wealth which exists in this country, in which the richest 1% of the population now own over a third of the wealth, and in which the gap between the rich and the poor is growing wider.